Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another battle to the death for you. Today we have kind of an interesting one. We have two pretty new D2 ball bearing flippers, both made in China. One, the Civivi Durus. The other, the Honey Badger in D2, the newest version of the Honey Badger. I've reviewed both of these recently. I will link to the full reviews down below. Both pretty cool little knives, both very unique in their own ways. As you can see, by looking at this camera angle, it looks like the Honey Badger's a lot larger. It really isn't. When you look at the blade, I tried to line up the pivots as best as I could here. Really not that much more blade length, more cutting length for sure, because this is a forward finger choil. We will discuss that at length, don't worry about that. The Durus is a bit bulkier, but this is the medium size of the D2 Honey Badger. As far as I can tell and as far as I can find, that's the only size of the Honey Badger they've done in D2 yet. The old school HCR 13 MOV versions came in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. I actually have one here, and we're going to talk about it a little bit because this was like what, a year and a half ago, this was like the talk of the town amongst all of us reviewers, because these were like 30 bucks on Amazon. Everybody's like, oh my God, the action is so amazing on these. We all wanted to get them, myself included. I actually had to have someone else buy this and send it to me because Amazon doesn't ship flipper tab knives to New York, even though they're completely legal. That's a whole other story. But now you can just get these direct from Western Active. That's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to link to that down below as well. But these were 30 bucks for the old HCR version, and everybody raved about them. Now the D2 version is 54, and now you're getting into the category of stuff like Civivi. The Durus, 65. So 10 bucks more. Now you're fighting with the big boys a little bit more. So that's kind of why I want to do this comparison, just to talk about, does it still stack up amongst the big boys? It's a great knife, but is it as good as something like this? So let's get into it. How do we do these little battles to the death? We do score things. We have 7 categories: design and aesthetics, quality, blade, ergonomics, carry, deployment, and value. And then at the end, we add them all up and we pick a winner. So let's get to it. Let's do some stats before we get too much farther so you guys can kind of see what the differences are in them. On the Durus, we'll do that one first. I'm going to line it up. These are all 1-inch squares, by the way. You have a length of 6.9 inches. You have a blade length of 2.95 inches. Blade thickness of 0.12 inches. Handle thickness, pretty thick, 0.55. And a weight of 3.67 ounces. On the Honey Badger, you have an overall length of 7.3 inches, blade length 3.15, somewhere in there. It's a little bit longer blade, but not dramatically so. And you have a blade thickness of 0.12 inches, handle thickness of 0.45, and a weight, according to my scales, just a hair under 3 ounces. So it is a pretty light little knife, light mid-sized knife, I guess you'd call it. Now let's get into the categories. Design and aesthetics. This is definitely the most subjective category. I always preface that. Completely free to disagree with me on it, but for me it's no contest. I think the Durus is a way better looking knife. The Honey Badger has always looked, I'm not gonna say awkward, but it looks a bit different. Like, it has I get why they do it. It's very stylized to match the name. It has this honeycomb pattern on it, Honey Badger, blah, blah. I get that. I do like the look of the pocket clip. It is polished. Some people don't like that. This is definitely the best looking Honey Badger there's ever been. This is the launch edition, I guess, but it is back in stock at Western Active with this exact same scheme. So the black with the red backspace are definitely the best looking Honey Badger there's ever been. But, you know, the look is kind of, I think most people would say it's a bit Marmite. You know, I mean, it's kind of take it or leave it. Where I think the Durus, it comes in a whole lot of colors. Right now, this D2 version only comes in this color and a tan. The Durus comes in this gray, a brown, I believe a red, and a black, and it even comes in a Damascus blade version, which is only 10 bucks more. I think the Durus is just a much better looking knife. I think the proportions look better. I just think overall it looks a lot better. And that kind of goes the same way with the quality. There's nothing really wrong with the Honey Badger. I can't like point out one thing that says, oh, this looks cheap, this looks like crap, especially when it was only 30 bucks. But now that it's 54, you kind of look a bit closer. And for 65, I just think quality-wise, it's only 10 bucks more. I think quality-wise, the Civivi's just a much better put-together knife. There's nothing wrong with the Honey Badger. Again, it's put together just fine, but the Honey Badger is, the Civivi is just, it's just that much better. I mean, they're both centered up fine. They both lock up fine. I can't like point out a particular flaw in the Honey Badger to make me say that it's worse, but no, I gotta go with the Civivi on that. And yeah, for quality, it's more than 10 bucks better. The blade, this one, I'll just say, I'm going to again pick the Durus, but I totally understand if you disagree with me. Some people really don't like losing that much cutting edge with the forward finger choil. I completely understand that, and I'm not going to argue with you, but I really like hollow grinds. The Durus is a hollow ground. It's about 16 thousandths behind the edge versus 26 thousandths behind the edge on the Honey Badger. I like the blade shape on the Honey Badger better. I will say I do like having that flat edge, and I almost gave it to the Honey Badger. This is one that I went back and forth on. But the Durus is just such a good slicer. And for me and for my uses, cutting cardboard, cutting paper, opening boxes, all that kind of stuff, the Durus is just such a good slicer that I have to give it to the Durus. But if you value the additional cutting edge more than you value the complete, like, utter sliciness of the blade, totally would understand if you chose the Honey Badger. But for me, all reviews are opinions. Sometimes I get comments like that. These reviews are just your opinions. Yeah, it's a review. That's how they work. But it's just the opinion of the guy doing it. But for me, I have to give the blade. I prefer the blade on the Durus, but not by much. Just barely. Ergonomics. This one was one that was pretty tough for me because I really like a forward finger choil. I do. It's just, especially on a mid-sized, smaller knife like this, it's nice to be able to choke up. There's no jimping on the top of the blade here. I think I said that in the review too. I wish there was a bit more, and it's a bit sharp up here, but still, like, it's very comfortable in the hand. And I really enjoy using this. This is a knife I've been carrying quite a bit, and I do really enjoy using it. There's no hot spots or anything. I have nothing to complain about the ergonomics on it, but also I really don't have anything to complain about with the Honey Badger. It is easier to get all four fingers on the Honey Badger. If I don't choke up on the Durus, I can barely get four fingers on it, but it's not uncomfortable, so I'm not really complaining about it too much. But it is easier on the Honey Badger to get all four fingers. The jimping's better in that it exists, so that's better. The slightly thinner handle, I don't like that as much. I like the thicker handle on the Durus. It's just, do you like a forward finger choil or do you not? That's kind of where it is. I would call them both pretty much equal, except for that. So ergos, I just have to call it a tie. I'm not really sure. It depends on whether or not you like that forward finger choil and how big your hands are. If you have huge hands, you're going to like the Honey Badger better. If you have hands like mine, large size but skinny fingers, I think you're going to like the Durus better. Carry. This was also a very close one, but I'm going to give it to the Honey Badger. I almost didn't, because I will say when these are in your pocket, they're both deep carry. This is a bit deeper, but that's not really a huge deal. The Honey Badger, a bit lighter, also not a huge deal. As you can see, it's much longer in the pocket, but it's much thinner in the most important dimension once it's in your pocket. The only reason why this wasn't a huge win for the Honey Badger is that flipper tab. You do notice it. You're going to feel it when your fingers go by. But they do a great job, especially they do it on the cheap ones too, just for the price they cost. Just very good job chamfering off that flipper tab. It's not the end of the world, but if you're putting other stuff in your pocket, yeah, it's going to ding stuff. But, so is this a little bit. And I just found the Durus much more difficult to get my hand past. So Honey Badger for the carry, although neither of them are perfect by any means. Now, as far as the deployment goes, this is another one I really went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on. They're both great. Civivi does a really good job, and Honey Badger is basically, that's why we all freaked out about them a year and a half ago. The inexpensive ones, we're like, could not believe the action on them. On the Honey Badger, the actual detent isn't quite as good as the Civivi, but it's damn close. But that, it just totally falls shut, which for $54, and the $30 ones are the same way, where on the, you kind of got to shake the Durus shut. It's fine, it works great. I think the detent's better on the Durus, but just the ability, how much the Honey Badger flicks, how much Honey Badger falls shut, and at the end of the day, as I screwed up, yeah, you can do that. It's got a thumb hole. You have multiple deployment methods. Yeah, gotta go Honey Badger on it. I went back and forth a bit because I do love the detent on the Durus, but every other aspect of deployment and closing, even the fact, I think this is a little easier to access the lock bar, where on the Civivi, it's fine, nothing wrong with it, but that's just even easier. I do love the sound the Durus makes though, but yeah, gotta go Honey Badger on the deployment. Value. This is going to be pretty much the, well, it's not the decider, but it's the most important category. We're already at 3-2 for the Durus. It's clearly going to win if you guys are keeping score along with this, which if you are, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Why would you do that? Just wait for me at the end when I tell you who won. But I still have to go Durus even with the value. It's only $10 more, and like I said, in the quality, it just feels more expensive than that. You've got plasticky kind of scales on the Honey Badger. These are really nice G10. The liners look nicer. It's just, they both have really good packaging, I will say, but the Civivi does come with a nice little zipper pouch, if that matters to you. This comes in a nice little padded box with a magnet closure and all that stuff. So both of them have nice little ways to store them, but I think it really just comes down to that plastic, because the Honey Badger plastic feels like, it feels like plastic, like no doubt. This is pretty decent G10. I think that's worth $10 more. I just do, and so I got to give a pretty big win, 4-2 to the Durus with one tie. I still like the Honey Badger. I still think it's cool, but I think at $54 with D2, it's punching above its weight a little bit. I hate to recommend an 8CR version over a D2 version, but these are $30. I'd recommend this to anyone all day long. There are definitely improvements, as you can see. It's this is right hand only. You get right hand, left hand, blah blah. You get the D2. I'm not too in love with their forward finger choil, but because they have the teeth on it and stuff. But yeah, I think for your 3-ish inch D2 money, you got to go Civivi Durus. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.